Right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on episode 3 of Authentic Dialogues with Tato. It really is becoming such an amazing journey, and on each episode, I personally learn a lot from the amazing women that we have as our guests on this program. So today we are talking about values linked to purpose. I personally believe this is a very interesting and very important topic. I mean, I got some comments when the advert was going out that some people saying, sure, we're going deep now. So I'm hoping that between Claire and I, we are going to be deep and get to that topic. So quickly, let me introduce Claire, and then I'll introduce more in depth the topic for today. Joining us this evening is Claire Fok. Hello, Claire, and thank you for joining us this evening. So Claire Fok is actually South African, but currently lives in Adelaide, Australia, and she's a very good friend of mine. Claire is a mother, first of all. I think she prides herself with that. It's one of the roles that she prides herself with. And she's a wife and she's a sister. So her background was in she studied other stuff, but then she says she accidentally landed in the learning and development space in HR, which I think for me personally was a gift and a blessing, because that's why she's sitting here today. That's why she's sitting here today, and that's what attracted me to her, because in there then that ignited her passion for people development, for people's growth and development. And for me personally, what I've witnessed with working with Claire, by the way, that's how I met her. We worked together and we just, as all of my guests coming here, we just gelled and we just connected, all right? And that is beyond the physical, as I always say. So so for me, it's a blessing because Claire then brings this authenticity in who she is. People may go left or right, but she's like, this is me. And she speaks her mind, but in the most respectful way. It's considering other people's emotions, other people's context, but she still brings who she truly is. And that for me is fundamental and important in building relationships. Um, so Claire, I've been accused of having long introductions and not bringing the people soon enough. So let me bring you in. How are you this evening?
I'm very good, Tato, and I want to say thank you for inviting me to participate in this. I think it's a real great opportunity. You and I have chatted and spoken a lot, and you know, I guess even in my intro that you've put in your socials, we've talked about, where I've come from, what I've done, what roles I've sort of had, and where I am now. And, there are times when I did feel a bit lost, sort of I'm in a new country, in a new city, all the people I knew and the network I had, that doesn't exist here. And I think, this is a great platform for me to even look at and introspect and reflect with someone else as to my journey, where I've come from, where I'm planning to go, what my plan should look like, essentially. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Claire. And I always get ideas when you guys talk, but I don't want to go there. But I just loved something that sparked in my mind when you say opportunity for you to introspect and look at your journey and where it's going. It's something that we even spoke about last week when we saying fundamentally our journeys in life are constantly evolving. And so we ought to do the work of stopping and pausing and say, and introspect and say, hey, what's happening around me here? Where am I going? Am I still on the right path? And what is currently influencing me? So I absolutely love that aspect because it's just built up from what we spoke about last week. But now, as an extension of your introduction, in the posters you say you refer to yourself as not just a mom, which I think is quite cool. But tell us more about the thinking around that. Why do you refer to yourself as not just a mom?
Yeah, I mean, for your audience and for everyone that subscribes to your channel, I arrived in Australia 2 years ago, and the idea was spend a few months settling into your new city, into your new country. I have 2 boys, and they were still in primary school when we arrived here. So it was, where do we live? Where do they go to school? What's their routine going to look like? What's their support structure going to look like? And so I arrived here as a mom, just a mom. In my little descriptive paragraph that I gave you, I said, I used to be a working mom. So I think it goes a lot to identity and how we get stuck in an identity in a way. We set out, we spend 12 years at school, and we're trying to decide what career to follow, what subjects to do, and what degree we're going to study. And then in your intro, you said as well, landed up accidentally in HR, landed up in a learning and development space, and then saying, hey, maybe this is, somewhere that I could live and be. And then you do the traditional things of getting married and having kids and taking on that sort of mom role. And, often I would be called so-and-so's mom. I wouldn't have a name. I wasn't Claire. I was so-and-so's mom, or so-and-so's wife. And you kind of lose your identity when you change roles or change your life through your life stages. Your life changes. And I think, when I arrived here in Australia, it was, I'm just a mom. And it wasn't supposed to take so long for me to stop being just a mom. And, the timing of this chat and interview is around me looking for work and trying to introduce myself into the Australian workforce. And so I said, well, I'm not really just a mom. But when I was looking for roles in South Africa, even, the first thing that would come out of my mouth is, I'm a mom. So, whatever role I would take on, it would be centered around, how does this fit in around my role as a mom? It wasn't about, yes, I can give 100% because I have no other responsibilities. I think I'll make it gender-based and say, as moms and as women, we take on so many roles and we take on so many responsibilities. We put a lot of responsibility and pressure on ourselves, actually, because we create this expectation that we will get dinner on the table. We will drop off and pick up children. We will make sure that their bags are packed and their lunches are packed, or that their tour has been paid for, camp's been paid for. All of those, like, I'm the one with the color-coded calendar. I'm the one that knows where everybody needs to be on what date at what time. So that's where the not just a mom comes in. It really is to sort of say, I've always used that, as my crutch, but I'm not just a mom. And I'm learning to be more specific to people that it's one of my roles. It's one of my important roles, but there's more to me. There's more to me. Get to know me, see how I work, see how I operate. Because sometimes people hear mum and then they go, I wonder if she'll put in the hours. If a kid gets sick, she'll be the first one out the door. But I've always said to people, I create this buffer in my calendar. So if my kid gets sick, so that's why I'm trying to stay organized and try to be very, color-coded calendar. Because that's how I know that I can then manage the unforeseen circumstances in the workplace and the family. But what I've also learned is that life happens. Yeah. And sometimes you don't meet the work deadline because you have a really sick kid who now is in hospital or something. I remember quite a while back, my eldest was 2 years old. I was expecting my second. I was also studying for exams because I had ideas about doing an honors degree in industrial psychology. So I was writing exams on those subjects. So I was at home and I was cramming because I had an exam that afternoon. And my 2-year-old was at creche. And I got the phone call that said, your son's banged his finger and doesn't look very good. So of course, drop everything, go and rush to get your kid from the creche. rush him to the emergency room, sit with him for hours waiting, sit with him for hours for them to assess what they're going to do. Is it serious? Is it not? What are they going to do? And then in the back of your mind going, I have an exam this afternoon. I have an exam I need to write this afternoon. And who's going to look after my kid because he can't go back to the creche now?
Yeah.
So, so life happens, things happen, crises happens, and you make a plan. And I mean, I did not do very well on that exam, but in the big scheme of things, it didn't really matter. My kid was fine. His finger's fine. His fingernail grew back. All of those things. So I think that's some of the life lessons that you learn. Is you can plan and you can have color-coded calendars. And you can
but life happens, right?
But life happens.
Well, thank you for that. Very, very in-depth understanding of I'm not just a mom, and it's a nice segue to actually now getting into the meat of our topic, which is about values and beliefs and how that ties into our purpose, right? So values are a big part of our lives, and normally a big part of what drives and shapes us. How we behave, how we engage, how we show up, and fundamentally the decisions usually influence the decisions that we make. It's centered around our values. And I'm hearing, one of your values and it's tied to your role as a mom, but it's always around and caring for others, which is something that I've seen. It's deep care for others, and now it's particularly as a mom for your boys. Their health, their well-being is first on your plate. So one of the levers of achieving a level of authenticity, now bring it to authenticity as well, is aligning one's values and beliefs with their actions. How true is this for you, Claire, and how do you see that playing in your life?
Well, like you said, family is very big, and mostly the family that I've built. I mean, historically, we all come from dysfunctional families. We all have difficult relationships. We all struggle through life events, through loss, grief, trauma. And I think we don't deal very well with them in the moment. And they say hindsight is 20/20. But honestly, I've had to learn. I mean, the last 5 years have probably been my hardest in terms of the introspection, the reflection, the learning through life's events. And 2020 with the pandemic, and everyone doing that reflection and introspection of what's important to me, and that, I think, makes you realize what your values are. They're always there. We know what they are. Whenever you make a decision, somehow subconsciously your values kick in. What you truly believe in, what you will and will not do, where you will and will not cross the line, is there. And I think that the chat here is around values and beliefs, and how does that help you, I guess, find purpose and find direction. I think that's, if you have a gut, gut is big these days. What your gut is, what it's feeling, you always trust it. I'm a big head person. I've always been. Historically, I've always been a head person. I would write a list. What are the pros? What are the cons? And try and logically work out a decision, work out the right answer and solution. But I think your values and beliefs are sitting in your heart. And it's not something you can put down on paper. It's something you know or you don't know. You just know. Not that you don't know. You either know it and make a decision based on that. And if you don't feel it, maybe it's not the right decision. So I think, if you talk about sort of what I value, and we are attracted to people who share our values. So, I always talk about and these are big things that come up now around respect and kindness. Be kind, because you don't know what people are going through. I used to be quite hard ass before, business, you know, we need to get this done, don't care. And as our roles change and we become moms or wives or all these other things, traumas and life events are happening, you go, I can see why that guy had a bad day. In retrospect, it could have been kinder. So yeah, it's as much as, so I don't want to be the know-it-all and say to you, yes, this is how you do it. This is how you, you know, dig into your values and say, this is how I'm going to run my life. Because I think we're always changing, molding, continuously learning, incrementally improving. Like I read a quote the other day that said, change from practice makes perfect to practice makes progress. So it's, you know, and I am, whenever you sit in an interview, they go, what is one of your weaknesses and what is one of your strengths? And I go, I'm a perfectionist. That's my strength. Then I would change it and say, but it's also my weakness, because in striving for perfection, I'm taking so much time there and I'm not getting things done, right? And so I like that quote, you know, it's not practice makes perfect, practice makes progress. So as long as every day we're forming habits and improving, you know, I've been told I have a short temper. So, you know, and you're looking at me like, no, not Claire.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I didn't know. It is a surprise to me.
but there are things that really irritate me, and I can lose my temper. And so my practice makes progress is don't fly off the handle straight away. Let it sink in, let it wave over you, and take a breath. And every day, if it's 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30, so that's what I'm saying. I'm still a work in progress. I'm still, you know, I'm not flawless. I have things that bug me and I have to let them go.
So it's actually, it's interesting you're talking about things that really bug you and get to you. And it takes me back to some of our sessions, our previous sessions together. And I remember like the first 10 minutes, you and I would just vent, like, I'm irritated about this. And then after that, you're like, okay, let's calm down now. Can we move forward? All right.
Yes.
And we've let the steam down. And I think, but it's important to let the steam out, you know, to let yourself vent and get over the emotions and then get to a realization that actually I might be overreacting, or there might be some truth in this thing that I'm taking I'm taking offense to. But I love what you said earlier about how you attract people with the same values, right, and beliefs.
Yes.
And that is why it was easier for us to truthfully and openly vent with each other, because we knew that there was no judgment. We knew that somehow the person would understand where you're coming from. I'm questioning the objectivity of that, because sometimes diversity of thought is important. Somebody with different values maybe, you know, would come and show you a different perspective of what you're thinking. And that's a topic for another day, but it's something that just that's something that came to my mind as you're talking. So I mean, research shows Claire, that effective leaders pursue goals that are aligned with their personal values. And I just want to test this with you, right? Pursue goals. So in the goals that you have pursued, and let me just take a step back. Sorry for the confusion. I want to take a step back that sometimes in my coaching sessions as well, I mean, I do values exercise a lot. And sometimes in my coaching exercise, depending on what the coaching issue is, or the client, I would do values exercise, and the person would be, there's always like, but my values have somehow changed, or the priority, at least the priority of my values and have changed and beliefs, right? So 3 years ago I used to believe in this and this, or my values were number one with this, and now they have changed because I have evolved as a person, or because I find myself in a different context, or the world, the world just changed. As you said, life happens and I find myself thinking differently. So I want to just take it from that context, right? As we're saying, values, are things that either the priorities, the way in which you rank the importance of these values, or the values themselves might change. I don't know. For some people, it actually does happen, and there's truth, there's some merit to it. So in that context, and based on the research statement that has said that about effective leaders being fundamentally pursuing goals that align to the personal values, I want to test that with you, with your experience, and it can be in a role as a mom or as a professional. It doesn't really matter. How true is that for you, and how is that helping you to connect to your true purpose, in getting to really discover your purpose in life?
Yeah, that's a big question.
I know.
It's a big question. I have to say that I've been somewhat lucky in the roles that so from a professional perspective, the roles that I've pursued, that I've applied for and wanted. A lot of them were based on meeting the managers and having that match of he gets me, understands me, he or she gets me, understands me, understands my multiple roles, that I'm not just a professional, but I'm not just a mom again. So values, mine have also probably shifted up and down in priority. But there are always one or two that will not shift ever, that will always be there. Bless you. And I think that, again, having someone who knows and understands you and gets you, because you share values, beliefs, and in a way purpose, because your purpose will always be in a professional space matched to what the business requires. You can't go into a professional role selfishly as a person. I don't know if that makes sense.
I will debate that later.
But so one of my roles, when I first, I had small children, and like I said, I would say I'm a mom, so I kind of need leeway with, kids being picked up or getting sick or whatever it is. And that understanding that is not going to impact me as a professional is very important. And as long as that was there and there was a mutual respect and a mutual understanding, things would go well. As soon as that was missing, though, and we've all been in big corporate where we start off with a manager who moves, or there's restructuring and you're now reporting to someone else. It's very challenging. And the best way that I could tackle that is by being honest, respectful, and having those crucial conversations, right? And it is about, this is what my intent is, and this is what I'm not intending. So I think it's a skill we taught when we were, as a crucial conversations facilitator. It's all about making sure that both people feel safe in a conversation, making sure that they understand what the intention is from one to the other, being honest with each other. And, so I'm almost going to hop and say, everybody has their own story. You've heard the buzzwords, narrative, story, or their perspective of something. And everybody's story is different. Even if they've gone through the same experience, they've all been in the same room. So from talking specifically to values, for me, respect, kindness, and being quite clear on what your intent is, helped me. Because it's not easy. And then timing is very important as well. Timing is quite crucial, because if you catch someone on a bad day, the answer will always be no. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
My question was quite loaded. So My question was loaded. And it does. And as usual, your answers always spark a million other things in my head that I not necessarily want to entertain right now. But when you're talking about having a crucial conversation, we talk about purpose now. That's the part that you didn't really get to, but we talk about it now. About getting to your purpose. And purpose, I mean, in the bigger scheme of things. Hence, I said I will debate that later. But something that you alluded to about having crucial conversations, right? And that this is where now I'm bringing the authenticity part again in it. In my own experience and journey, I found that my ability to have crucial conversations with people is fundamentally linked to the confidence in myself first, and in the stuff that I want to bring about, in having that crucial conversations. So back to the stuff of beliefs. I fundamentally believe in the cause, irrespective of the person next to me, their level or whatever. But I believe in it, and I'm confident in myself and in bringing up the discussion or the topic. So I think I believe that there's some challenges around that. It's not a simple thing, right? It's not a simple thing that I've got this challenge to do. Therefore, I'm going to bring that authentic, that crucial conversation. How do we help? What's some of the stuff that has worked for you in having those meaningful conversations, really with the idea or the intention of having a positive outcomes for everyone, which we know that's what it is. But sometimes it's just fear of first of all, the person is intimidating, or because of their role, they might be your superior and they're intimidating, and now you want to come and say, hey, there's something that I'm not happy about, for example. How do you navigate that complexity?
So as you were speaking, I thought of three things. So in the crucial conversations training that we went through and that I trained for a year or so when I left South Africa, before I left South Africa, the ones that resonated, because we always trained and we said, these are the steps. These are the things to look out for. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And I would always say to everyone, it doesn't go in that order. It's not step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 success. You might have to do step 1, step 2 again. Step 2 and 3. You might do them back to front. But the key thing for me, there's one that resonates, is start with heart. And what that means is, what do I want out of this? And what do I want for everyone else out of this? So it's that, mutual purpose. Like, I'm not doing this for myself. This isn't for selfish reason. I'm really, really so I'll take your example. I have this idea and I feel very passionate about it, and I want to introduce it, and I want to have a chat about it with you, and I want to execute on it some way, but I want to bounce this off you. It really is about starting with heart, and your intent. So intent is a big thing. What is my intention? You talked about people saying, they're more superior than you, or they may feel unsafe. So safety is a big thing, making people feel safe, making sure you feel safe within the conversation. If they don't feel safe within that conversation, you're not going to get much out of them. You're not going to get buy-in. You're not going to get even a listen in, so making sure that they feel safe is important. And how do you make them feel safe, in my mind, is to make sure your intent is clear. I'm not intending to, sell this idea and get a promotion and, surpass you, or, overshadow you. I think this benefit is for everybody in the team. I think this benefit is for our department. I think this benefit is for the bottom line. So, start with heart, talk about intent, make it safe. Something I was going to include here somewhere was just about holding space for people. And I think the person you spoke in one of your episodes, I think the previous one, was about holding space and just giving people an opportunity to be heard. So it's not just me coming in with, I think this is a great idea, this is why I think it's a great idea, and this is why I want you to support me.
Yeah.
Holding space for them as well to, with their better sense, better context, maybe they can take context within business for you, why it may or may not work, ask you questions, how would you tackle this, how would you tackle that? And then the last thing, just around stories, narratives, people's perspective. What we touched on in Crucial Conversations was around what I see and hear. So everyone in the same room has a different perspective, different story to tell from the same experience. What I see and hear makes me feel a certain way, which therefore makes me react. And walking that back to the person going, this is what I saw and heard, which I interpreted as such, which made me feel angry or sad or disappointed or sidelined. Is that the case? So checking, because I might have gotten it wrong. So there are a few things there that I think answer your question. But it is things that those nuggets that I took from Crucial Conversations. I mean, Crucial Conversations is a huge course. There's a lot of stuff to be learned. It's often 2 days worth of information overload. But the ones I always go back to is start with heart, make sure what your intent is. And there's a good contrasting statement of, I don't intend to do this. This is what I do intend doing. And so I didn't intend to upset you. I did want to just make sure that you understood X, Y, and Z. Making it safe for people, holding space for them so that they can also breathe, think, speak, ask questions. And just understanding that everyone's story is different.
Absolutely. And I can understand why that resonated with you, which is exactly how I introduced you earlier about how it's important for you always take context of the other person and how what you're saying or what you're doing have an impact on them. So I think it's important not just for leaders, but in general, in our relations with others, in us trying to build meaningful and long-term relationships with others. It can never just be about me, right? I have to take cognizance of other people's feelings and emotions and how what I'm saying and what I'm saying has an impact on them, because as you said, we're all going through stuff. So kindness, once again, going back to kindness, always exercise kindness to one another. So I love it. I love all those answers. I want to ask you a very blunt question, right?
Yeah.
A very blunt question, and it's around, do you think that you've reached your higher purpose, or you've identified your higher purpose? And how have some of your beliefs or values helped you to do that?
I don't think I've defined my higher purpose. I think I'm at a crossroads. And that's a challenge. I think a few weeks back, I think you messaged me, and I was saying to you, I'm not sure I'm in a good space. I'm not sure if I'm in a good headspace, because I was starting to question my purpose. So the whole, not just a mom, I do some days feel like I'm just a mom, and I know that that's not my purpose. So there's a purpose for right now or for the moment, but there's a higher purpose, which is what you alluded to. And I mean, I have a very strong faith, so the church has always been in my life. Born and raised in the Anglican Church, and yes, like I don't think there are many people that can't say that their faith wavered at one point or another in their life. I'm going to go back to grief, loss, trauma, big life events. You do feel lost. But what I found is that my faith was always there. What I found was that it was my anchor. It's, call it coincidental or call it me twisting the message to my needs, but I often find myself, when I do get to church and I hear the sermon or I hear the readings or I hear something, it resonates. And that's what's kept me there. That's what's held me there. So even when I moved here, that's the one thing I looked for, a church. Something that, you know, was familiar, which is, it's just very weird, but the Anglican Church is very similar across the world. The way that the service runs, all of it's very familiar. And I'm also very traditional. So the traditional way of doing things just made me feel like I belonged somewhere. So especially here, having come here, and I'm away from all my friends, all my coffee mates that I had at work that I could vent to. And yeah, that was one place that I felt, I know this. This feels like home, where everything else doesn't. Because I mean, if I talk about even identity, if I can bring that in,
Yeah, sure.
Like you said, I'm South African, I'm Chinese looking, but I'm in Australia now, and like I have to question: do I fit? Will I ever fit? Will I ever belong? Right? And that's why I think my faith has been very strong, is because I feel like I belong there, no matter what I look like, what I sound like, who I am. We share faith. That's one thing we all have in common, and I belong. So yeah, I think that in finding my purpose, that's been my compass, if that makes any sense at all.
It makes perfect sense, yeah.
So but I think I'm still on that journey. I am hoping I'm on the right path, but feel very strongly that I am. I feel that the messages I receive are timely, and they make my faith stronger. And I believe that my higher purpose will present itself. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. But at the very beginning of your answer, you said something that it is quite interesting that I want to just maybe poke in. You said your current purpose is being a mom. I think I'm not using your exact words, but I heard you say your current purpose is being your mom. And actually, I'm curious now. It left me very curious around what is your view around purpose? Are you seeing purpose being a permanent thing? Are you seeing a purpose being an evolving thing, or do you have a bigger, higher purpose than you've got multiple purposes or sub purposes around it? It just triggered this thing when you said, right now my purpose is this. So is it something that is evolving? Is it contextual? Why did you use those words to say, right now my purpose is being a mom?
I think it's something I use as my mantra, of, for now, I know that is something that I have to do. Because I'm a goal-oriented person. Like, I have to have a to-do list, and I have to tick off the stuff on that to-do list to feel like I've accomplished something. So my to-do list these days look like things like doing laundry, load the dishwasher. Yeah, very arbitrary house stuff. But and as arbitrary as it sounds, it's making other people's lives easier in my household, in my family. And I know it's a mindset I need to get out of, because I have so much more value to add elsewhere. So I put a time frame in place. So when you say, is your purpose just, there's one ultimate purpose at the end, your higher purpose, I feel like it evolves. I feel that it changes.
Okay.
I think as life throws you things, as I get messages that resonate with me, I re-evaluate. So I don't know if you're the same as me, but once a year before my birthday, I'm sitting and doing reflections on the year that's passed, right?
Yeah.
What skills have I achieved in the last year? Or, what skill do I need to do what I want to do? And I'm stuck at the moment going, what do I want to do? So when you ask me about purpose, it's hard for me right now to tell you, yeah, this is my purpose. That's why I said to you, my current purpose is just to be a mom, because I need to make sure they get through schooling and they make the right subject choices. They, you know, they survive and thrive. So that's why I use the word. Currently, my purpose is mom, and I'll have a purpose, you know, outside of that as I find work I want to do, find work that I like to do, and that'll change again. It'll shift and change, and I think it's purely because of where I am right now in terms of my environment. Because I think in South Africa, I was like, I'm set. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm doing day to day, and my rhythm is there. And moving here suddenly, you know, not to say I didn't want to move, but moving here suddenly sort of shifted everything. You went, okay, what now? You know, and that's why I'm at a point where I'm like, I can't tell you. And for me, it's been an evolving thing. For me, it's not this is the be all and end all at the end of the road.
Great. So I'm going to put a challenge to you, and it's just something that you ponder on after this thing, you know, as you continue with your day and you know, the week. And then I'm going to say my view on purpose, right, as we wrap up the session. So my challenge to you would be, to you, Claire, is to, I mean, you mentioned a lot of things about your to-do list and the stuff that you want to tick off, and, you know, having a sense of achieving something, right? You mentioned those things, and you even made examples of, you know, picking up the dishwasher, doing laundry, you know, ensuring that the boys have got their schoolwork done, and all of that, right? So my challenge to you would be redefining what you see as your purpose. So that, and it is going to link to what I'm about to say, which is my view around purpose. And it's something that I absolutely am passionate about. It's something that I even said on my lunch video, that I'm obsessed with helping people find their purpose and to living the rest of their life pursuing that. And that's my statement as it is. And I'm challenging you to now redefine how you say your purpose is, so that in either context you are still pursuing your purpose, so that it's permanent. It's not right now, it is, because your purpose can manifest in so many ways. That is my view. Right now, in this context, your purpose is manifesting and taking care of your boys and your family and doing that, right? Tomorrow, it might manifest in that thing, but fundamentally, your purpose is about 1, 2, 3, 4, irrespective of the context. It doesn't change. The context change, the universe change and the stuff, but what you serve, you know, because the purpose is about serving others. It's about doing, it's about making an impact on others. And that might come in so many different ways, in different contexts, but the soul and purpose of your life, it's standard. And that is my argument. Of course, I'm willing to be challenged on this thing. I know that many of you guys watching this, you might have your ideas. I'm happy to be challenged, but that's my view on it, right? I believe that. So whether I move wherever, whether, you know, COVID happens, whether technology takes over the world, I believe that my purpose is 1, 2, 3, and I might find myself pursuing my purpose in a different way because of the circumstances that I find myself in. And I may have to temporarily pause on how I do it in other ways to currently focus on this because life happens in that way. And tomorrow then I'll now focus on other ones, but it remains how I serve and make an impact. That's my argument.
It's not the first time I've heard that. So I know sometimes I get stuck in the moment, and I know that I can't be, I need a longer term goal, a bigger, you know, sort of and exactly as you said it, that no matter where you are, where you've moved to, COVID happening, you still have those as your anchors. Those are your compass points. You know, you're moving in that direction. No matter what happens, I've got my eyes set on that, and I'm going for that. No, 100%.
Great. But Claire, I think we have come to the end of our amazing and deep conversation. I absolutely enjoyed it. You have sparked so many things in my mind in your very rich and in-depth and answers. So I really appreciate you making the time for us. I know because of the time differences that, I've ate some of your family time. So I appreciate your
Oh, it's okay.
sacrifice there. I truly appreciate it. And for everybody who joined us, thank you for tuning in. I think just in closing and in wrapping up, I want to just, I love how these sessions are going because for me, it speaks to the authenticity and how I got attracted to every single person who's coming on this channel. So Claire kept on saying, it's about the heart. You always start with the heart. If you remember our very first episode, O's Queen spoken about soul to soul. It's about I see you, but at a soul level. Then Zoya came last week and she talked about as a heart to heart thing. You attract on a heart to heart. And I defined her as being raw. And I said, I am attracted to her rawness because at my heart, because of my rawness, attracted to her rawness. And that's the whole thing with authenticity. I said it, I described it, something that is so I said it's something that is free, it's liberating to be authentic, right, Claire? Because
Yes.
you feel light. You can say, right now I'm not feeling too well, and it is okay. You can be vulnerable and you can be who you are without being apologetic. So I absolutely love the heart to heart because it can never only just be about us in this life. And that is my mission, that is what I want. It can never just be about us. It is about how can I make the other person's life easier? How can I contribute meaningfully to the other person? How can I impact the other person in a positive way and uplift them in doing so? So that's me closing. Claire, do you have any closing words, anything that you want to say before we say goodbye?
Well, I think I want to go back to that whole practice makes perfect, and that everybody, um, you know, I often get stuck in the gender role specific arguments, but I think everybody, because we're all human beings, it's about being kind, hold space for each other, know that we're, as much as we're in this together, some are taking it harder than others, and it's important for us, the whole theme around authenticity. I love it, Tato, because it really talks to just being real. And it's so much easier and comfortable being real than trying to be someone else or trying to play up to a role, someone you're not. So I think that's the critical thing for me.
Thank you,
And thank you.
Claire. Thank you, Claire. I absolutely enjoyed it. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening and we'll
Thank
chat
you.
soon.
Definitely. Thanks very much for having me.
I'll be a pleasure. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.